Right. A very good day to you all. My name is David Kwitambo. Today I'm going to go through the NDS1, how the Ministry of Education in Zimbabwe aligns itself to NDS1, National Development Strategy. Um, First of all, we have 14 pillars. These are areas of focus. We have 14 pillars that we have in the NDS1, and it is also the role of each and every government department to align itself to the national strategy of a country. Any country you might think of, have its own development plan. It has its own development plan. So Zimbabwe, like any other country, has its own development plan, and the development plan of Zimbabwe we refer to National Development Strategy. We have National Development Strategy 1 and National Development Strategy 2. Now, as for National Development Strategy 1, the first pillar, that is the first area of focus, we have human capital development. Here, the focus is all about improving education skills and training so that people are productive and employable. We want to produce, as the Minister of Education, in order for us to align or to support the development of our human resources, we are supposed to improve and provide an education system that enables people to be employable, our products. We don't want a scenario where we have a learner with 10 distinctions, but with all those distinctions, he or she can't afford to work. We want people who are employable not only in Zimbabwe. Of course, Zimbabwe is the starting point, but we are saying we need to produce learners who are capable of working maybe in Africa as a continent, SADC as our region, and also in the global village. That is the entire world. We don't only want to produce learners who are only capable of working in Zimbabwe, but who are capable in working both in Zimbabwe and outside Zimbabwe. That's the mandate, and that's what we must aim for, and that's what the Ministry of Education has been doing all along. That's the reason why most graduates from Zimbabwe, most school leavers from Zimbabwe are very marketable outside the country and even in the country. We are saying there are two aspects that the Ministry of Education has been focusing. First one is skilled workforce, where we are saying education develops a skilled and knowledgeable workforce essential for driving economic growth and innovation. Munhu akadzidza ari very innovative. Kushanda nemunhu akadzidza kwakasiyana nekushanda nemunhu asina kudzidza. What are we saying? We are saying if you work with an educated person, there must be some signs that this one is well educated. Of course, we have those in Shona yatinoti hanzi nini hadziibve. Even some have gone through university education, but you can't tell the difference between an educated person and an uneducated person. Why? Because inini sina kuibva. But there must be very little in terms of percentage of people of that nature, people of that caliber. Then we are saying now, the other issue is the education system in Zimbabwe is aiming to produce entrepreneurship among its learners. What are we saying? Education fosters entrepreneurship. Once we foster business-minded people, we are also promoting employment, because if we produce learners who are able to create their own industry, their own businesses, they will be able to employ people in large numbers. This is basically the importance of education. We want people to work, and we want people who are able to form their own companies, their own businesses. So education basically in Zimbabwe promote entrepreneurship, which fosters development of indigenous business entities. Then that type of education that we are promoting as a ministry in Zimbabwe is a type of education system that promotes critical thinking and problem solving skills necessary for creating jobs and stimulating economic growth, because all must be focusing on economic growth, because it is only economic growth that improves people livelihood. Right, we now move on to pillar number 2, which say that it's economic growth and development. Economic growth and development. Our economy need to grow, need to develop. That's the pillar number 2. And this economy focuses on keeping the economy stable. So how does education come into play? We are saying education, Minister of Education helps to increase productivity. How? By producing graduates who are productive. Because we are saying education enhances productivity by producing competent product, that is competent learner, leading to increased economic output and competitiveness. And again, in this economic growth, there is also innovation and technology, where we are saying, education drives innovation and technological advancement essential for economic growth and development. Then we are saying innovation. Currently, the Minister of Education in Zimbabwe introduced what they call Karen, now being called a project. It's all about research, all about being innovative. We are promoting our learners to be research minded, to be innovative. That's how we are contributing to the economy. When we produce learners that are very innovative, very competitive, when they go to the economy, they will do what? They will do some productive stuff there, bringing in innovative, great innovations, and also skills that are relevant for that economic growth and development. Then we move on to pillar number 3, which is social development and cohesion, or social protection. What are we talking about here? We are saying the government of Zimbabwe need to support vulnerable groups, elders, disabled, and poor households. So how does education comes into play here? How does Minister of Education come into play here? What we are simply saying here is education enable what we call, or it facilitates what we call social mobility. By social mobility, we are saying a society needs to have a positive shift. The society needs to have what? A positive shift from another level to a higher level. How does education now facilitate that? Education is a key element in factorizing people from brackets of poverty to brackets of prosperity. We have quite a number of people who were very backward, who came from humble families, but due to education, after being educated, they got good jobs, then good income, and obviously the issue of poverty will be history, because we are saying employment will change one's status in the society. So education can promote social mobility. When people are educated, they will get better jobs, create better industries, then obviously improves in their livelihood. So education plays a key role. Also, civic engagement. We are saying education encourages civic engagement. And also critical thinking, active citizen, people who are very active in every sectors of their nation. So that will be very essential. So education plays a role in producing active citizens in their society. That's pillar number 3. Now we move on to pillar number 4, which is digital economy, where we are saying let's promote the use of technology. Where does education comes into? We are saying we have seen in our government schools, even mission schools, we have seen the use of echo cash, swipe machines being used in schools. Then we also witnessed the use of ICT in schools. Some they use ICT in lesson delivery. Some they use ICT to reach even parents. Quite a number of ICT tools are being used in our schools. So that's the Ministry of Education aligning itself to NDS. Then we move on to another pillar number 5, which is environmental protection, climate resilience, and natural resource management, where we are saying we need to protect as a nation natural resources and prepare the country for climate change like droughts and floods. So where the question now is, where does our schools chip into, or how does our schools align itself to NDS pillar number 7 of environmental protection, climate resiliency? We have seen in schools disaster management plan. Our government is promoting risk and disaster management plan in schools. We have also seen our Ministry of Education encouraging the use of disaster risk and disaster management plan in the implementation and the use of those plans in our schools. That's aligning itself to pillar number 5 of environmental protection, climate resilience, and natural resource management. Then we also have inclusion of environmental and natural resource management in subjects like heritage studies, which is a compulsory, and also other subjects like science, biology, agriculture, geography. We have seen the topic environment as a cut crossing theme. Then we move on to pillar number 6, which is youth, sports, and culture empowerment, where we are saying let's empower young people through job skills, sports development, and also preservation of our cultural heritage. This was also promoted by ministry and is also again being promoted by Ministry of Education through inclusion of ONU, Ubuntu, UNU as a cross-cutting theme, and also sports events like national tournaments are being hosted by the Ministry of Education each and every year. That's promoting sports. And again, we also have the increase of practical subjects in various schools. So, and the government, the Ministry of Education is promoting hands-on, the practical aspect. Thus aligning itself to pillar number 6, which promotes youth, sports, and culture. Then we also move on to pillar number 7. Right, pillar number 7 is all about governance. Governance, here the government is trying to strengthen transparency, accountability, rule of law, and efficiency in government institutions. And Ministry of Education is also a government institution. So what does Ministry of Education, what role does Ministry of Education plays in as far as governance is concerned? We are saying Ministry of Education fosters informed citizenship. It imparts knowledge so that the citizens of the country becomes well informed. And again, it promotes transparency, rule of law, and accountability, developing active leaders. How we have seen the prefect system replacing the cabinet board system, where learners they choose people whom they see they are fit to be their prefects, their leaders. And we have already, as a ministry, we have already changed the aspect of naming our prefects as prefects. We are now naming our prefects as ministers. And the prefect board has also transformed from being prefect board to a cabinet board, to a cabinet system where learners, they campaign. After campaigning, other learners will vote for them to be ministers at school level. So this is how the government of Zimbabwe, the Ministry of Education in Zimbabwe, is aligning itself to NDS1, the pillar of, especially the pillar of governance. Now we move on to pillar number 8, which says housing delivery. It's all about housing delivery. It aims to reduce housing shortage by building affordable homes and improving urban planning. Where does the Ministry of Education chips into? We have seen Ministry of Education trying by all means to improve practical subjects, building in particular. When we have building as a subject, we will have builder people who will be able to build houses. So people are going to join the construction industry. Then, that by so doing, the Ministry of Education is also aligning itself to the pillar of housing delivery, where we are saying who are the people going to build those houses. Obviously they are builders. And where can we start? We now start building as a learning area at high school, so that we have people who have that mind of developing that skill of building to tertiary level. We are going to boost as a ministry. We are going to help by having our schools accommodating building as a learning area. We will be building, or will be increasing, or will be boosting building personnel in the building industry. Then we move on to pillar number 8, which says devolution and denationalization. Decentralization, in fact, not denationalization, decentralization. It's devolution and decentralization, where we are saying power must be transferred from central government to local authorities, so that communities can be able to manage their own development, their own resources. We have seen it in the Ministry of Education, where we have recruitment, promotion of heads and deputy head being done at provincial level rather than at national level. We have also seen some transfers being processed at district level. Thus, district offices are given powers to do certain processes, not having a scenario whereby everything is being done at the head office. Most of the things have been decentralized. Even public service, we used to have public service only in Harare, the capital city, but now we have public service offices in each and every district in Zimbabwe. That's decentralization. So Ministry of Education has also aligned itself to the pillar of devolution and decentralization. Then we move on to food security and nutrition. Here what we are saying is we must ensure that the country produces enough food, that the people have access to nutritious diets, not only food in terms of quantity, but food in terms of quality, food in terms of nutrient, so that we achieve what we call availability of balanced diet. By so doing, we are supporting what is called food security, which is pillar number 10. And where does Ministry of Education chip in here? We have seen in schools having some agricultural projects, broiler production, rabbit, goat production, even maize production, thus supporting the ministry to food security, that's supporting the nation to the pillar of food security. Right, we have seen our schools involved in school feeding programs, where learners produce food and they start to feed their own learners. Some they even purchase maize, but some they produce, they feed their learners from what they produce. So we are saying that's also a part of improving food security in the nation. And also the farming aspect, as I've already mentioned, we also have our schools. The Ministry of Education have introduced quite a number of subjects in agriculture, like crop science, because we only used to have agriculture as a learning area, but now we have agriculture, we have crop science, we have animal husbandry, we have even agricultural economics in high schools. So we are saying that's trying by all means to boost our agriculture by producing learners who are skilled, who are agric minded. Then we move on to another pillar of health and wellness, where we are saying there is need to improve our hospitals, clinics, healthcare services to ensure people live a healthier and longer lives. How Ministry of Education has aligned itself to that pillar. Ministry of Education has introduced the wellness program in schools, where wellness programs, I think we are all familiar with it. In Zimbabwe, every Wednesday it's a wellness day where teachers are supposed to have some programs different from those academic aspects they are used to do. So some they might even tour, visit areas of recreation. Some they engage maybe recreational activities at their school or even outside school premises. So that's part of wellness program, which the Ministry of Education tries to align itself to the demands of pillar number 11 of health and wellness. Then we also have pillar number 12, infrastructure and utilities, where we are saying the building of roads, railways, electricity, water systems, and housing to support economic activity and daily life. Schools, as a ministry, they are being encouraged, especially rural schools, to build state-of-art accommodation for their teachers, and also even to develop some structures within their schools that are state-of-art. So we are saying infrastructure and utilities is an issue which the Ministry of Education has tried to align itself to. Even schools, we are having better schools which are now being built, state-of-art schools. We also have state-of-art accommodation for staff, which the ministry is encouraging schools to do, to have. Now we move on to the pillar that I like most. Of course, all pillars are very essential. The value chain and structural transformation, where we are saying instead of exporting raw materials, let us try to export processed goods. We are encouraging processing of raw materials locally, turning minerals into finished goods to increase the value and jobs. Schools, as a way of aligning itself to pillar number 13 of value chain and structural transformation. Instead of, we are encouraging our schools as a ministry, instead of selling maize from the school maize field, we now let us try to sell mealie meal. Instead of selling soybeans, sunflower, schools are now encouraged to purchase processing machine to sell cooking oil. So we are having, some schools have already adopted to it, where we are having schools with grinding mill, they sell mealie meal instead of selling maize. Instead of selling groundnuts, schools are now selling peanut butter. There must be an element of processing something so that the value is added on that commodity. Even selling broilers, rather than selling broilers as broilers, chicken cuts, they have more value than selling the actual broiler. So we are saying that element of processing our raw material is an aspect of aligning ourselves to the pillar of structural transformation and value chain. Then we move on to pillar number 14. Pillar number 14, which is the last pillar in NDS1. Pillar number 14, we are saying value chain and structural. Okay, pillar number 14 is image developing. It's image building, where we are saying, let's build the image of our country. Let's develop the image of our country. But take note, in order for us to build the image of our country, because the pillar itself says image building and international engagement, there is need to improve Zimbabwe's global reputation and strengthens relationships with other countries to attract investments and trade. So we as schools, we try to promote sense of patriotism to our learners. First of all, as schools, we try to teach what is called self-identity. That's how the subject heritage studies was brought about. Learners must first of all identify themselves. After identify themselves, they must try by all means to identify themselves as Zimbabweans, as Africans, as Black Africans. After identifying themselves, we are supposed to teach our learners that what a white man can do, also a black man can do. What America can do, also an African country can do it. So we are saying in schools, we teach learners patriotism, national pledge. In Zimbabwe, we've already designed a national pledge, which is being recited by our learners, that instills the spirit of patriotism, that instills the spirit of highlighting or marketing our country, our continent, our black race, that we are also the same with those who call themselves superior than blacks. So we are saying we need to engage in cultural exchange programs. This was already in place and is still being done by the Ministry of Education, where we are saying let us produce learners that are able to present Zimbabwe at the global village. Let us produce learners that are able to stand for their country, that are able to sacrifice for their country, that want to work for their country. I think this is how Ministry of Education is aligned or was aligned to NDS1. In summary, I can say, think of the pillars as covering 3-4 aspects: economy, people, systems, future. By economy, we are saying growth, value chains, and digital development. Then by people, we are focusing on health of the people, housing for the people, social protection. And systems, we are talking about governance and infrastructure and devolution. Then in the future, we are talking about the environment, the youth, and global relations. These are 4 aspects that are being covered by these 14 pillars. Please don't forget to subscribe. I think if you have enjoyed, don't forget to subscribe. This is how the Ministry of Education is aligning itself, or was aligning, because it is still doing it. So this is how Ministry of Education in Zimbabwe aligns to the National Development Strategy 1. Thank you very much. Have a good day.